Very good morning, students. Today we are going to continue with the lesson number 14, Elements, Compounds and Mixtures from our science subject, part 1. Before starting this lesson, let us try to give the answer to revise what we have learned till now. Okay, how many different states of matters are there? Name them. What brings about a change of state of matter? What are the properties of matter? And do all substances have the same properties? Now, if you want to answer these questions, okay, answer of these questions will be the revision what we have studied in last some years. How many different states of matter? Okay, now every one of us know that the matter have three states. Okay, they are present or they are available in three states, that is solid, liquid and gaseous state. Correct? And what brings about the changes of state of matter means when the substances are changed from solid to liquid, liquid to gases. Okay, now again it depends on the substances. When you give a heat, okay, if you heat the substances, the solid substance is converted to liquid. And again, it's not compulsory that every substance will be converted to liquid after heating solids. Okay, some of them directly converted to gaseous state as well. So, depends what type of substance it is. Based on that, the changes of state of matter takes place. There are different properties of matter. Okay, now when we utter a word matter, what is the meaning of the word matter? In physics and chemistry, the matter word is used to denote a substance. Okay, different objects are made up of matter. The quantity which is present, the particles which are present inside the substance is nothing but a matter. Okay, and it's a scientific word, means sometime instead of a substance we can call it as a matter. So what are the properties of matter? Means what properties matter? We can say that matter may be present in solid, liquid and gaseous state, and their properties are due to the matter by which they are made. Means, for example, if you take example of a chalk, chalk is in solid form. Okay, ink is a liquid. Perfume, if you take, okay, whenever you spray it, it is converted to gaseous state. So here the color of a chalk, the blue color of ink, the fragrance of perfume are the properties of their matter which remains unchanged. Now last question, do all substances have the same properties? No. Okay, the properties of the substance, properties of the matter changes subject wise. Matter wise the properties are also different. Now let us try to understand what is a matter. Let us define the word matter and what are the different properties of matter. An object is made up of a certain substance. The term matter is also used as synonym of substance. Okay, synonym of substance or substance. Matter is nothing but an object is made up of is called matter. What is matter? An object is made up of is called matter. Means whatever any substance, any object of which material it is made up of is nothing but a matter. Okay, so don't get confused with this word, because from here onward many times we are going to utter this word matter. Okay, now let us try to understand what are the different properties of matter. The particulate nature of matter and properties of matter. It is the matter present. First property we can just see, the matter is present in various things in solid, liquid and gaseous state, and that is responsible for their properties as well. Even though they are divided into small particles, their properties due to the matter present in them remains same. Okay. For example, if you take a chalk, even if you crush it, if you break that chalk into smaller pieces, if you convert that chalk pieces into powder, their particles will remain same. The basic matter which is present in them will remain same, and along with that particle, properties also will be same. Means just because we are changing the shape and size, properties will not change. Next, third point, objects or matter have mass. Okay, we have learned the meaning of mass in our physics lessons. Mass, so we can call it as objects have a mass, and mass can be measured with the help of devices like common balance. Next property, the objects occupy space. Means what? That objects have the value. Volume, sorry, not value, volume. So objects have volume. Same way, in another word we can call it as objects occupy space. So in other words we can say that the basic or important properties, which are the important properties of matter, mass and volume, are two important properties of matter. So till here, clear children? Okay, in this part what we have learned? The concept of matter, and we have revised the properties of matter. Okay, lesson number 14, science subject, element, compounds and mixtures, part 2. Now, having learned the meaning and properties of matter, let us understand some more concepts about the matter. Many kinds of matter found in nature which are in pure form, that is, they contain only one constituent. Okay. Now sometimes the substances or matters are made up of single substance or single type of one type of matter. Sometimes they are made up of, or they are the combination mixture of different constituent. But generally the matter which is found in nature, they are in pure form. Okay. Normally, naturally, whatever matter is there, it is always have one constituent. In scientific language, we can say they are made up of only one constituent, and it's called substance. For example, gold, diamond, water, chalk. Okay, so all these substances, if you see, they are made up of one constituent, and other kinds of matter are made up of two or more substances, and we call them as a mixtures. Okay, so if the substance or if the matter have two constituents, then we call it as two or more constituents, then we call it as mixture, and if it have only one constituent, we call it as a substance. Okay, now next concept we are going to learn actually what's the topic or what's the title of this lesson, that is elements, compounds and mixture. Till now it was the introduction to understand the concept of matter, substance and mixture. Now let us try to understand what do you mean by elements, compounds and mixtures. To define the element, what is the meaning of element? Okay, first let us take example of the water droplets which are collected on the inside of the lid of the any vessel which is kept on the gas. Okay, you might have observed in a kitchen, whenever your mother keep any water or any food item for cooking, and if she keeps a lid on that one, okay, after some time if you lift the lid, you can see the water droplets are collected on the downside of the lid. Okay, now what are those? They are nothing but because of the condensation of the vapors from the boiling water. The water which is present in the vessel, it boils. After boiling, vapors are coming out from that liquid, and that because of lid, they get cooled, their temperature decreases and they are converted to a liquid form, and they get collected, they are condensed. Okay, the process is called as condensation. So such tiny water in the form of vapor is composed of extremely tiny particles, and therefore we cannot even see them. Okay, it's not easy. Now even if you are sitting in a room, in our surrounding there is a humidity. Okay, moisture is there, but we cannot see. Why? Because those particles are very minute in size, so we cannot see them easily. But you will see that the spray, okay, sometime when we spray the water, we can see the small particles of water. So similarly, all substances, they are made up of extremely tiny particles, and the tiniest particle, the smallest particle of the substance, they are called as the molecules. Okay, so the tiniest, what is the definition of molecule? The smallest particles of substance are called as molecules. And then what do you mean by element then? A substance whose molecules are made up of exactly alike one or more atoms are called elements. Okay, so what do you mean by element? Elements are nothing but the substance, smallest particle, what we say, molecules. But what apart from molecule, there is one more concept we know, that is atom. Okay, if you keep on dividing, or if you go on separating each particle, each matter present in the substance, the smallest particle we call it as a atom, and that atom is present in the molecule. Correct? So these three words again, let us repeat. Molecule, the definition, the smallest particle of substance are molecules, and element is nothing but a substance that is made up of, whose molecules are made up of exactly alike. Alike means same, one or two more atoms, they are called as elements. Okay, so to make this understand, let us see this diagram. Okay, if you see the uppermost part, it is nothing but single particle, single smallest particle is a atom. Okay, up now I have given example of a hydrogen atom, but there are particular substances which cannot remain steady in a single form. So hydrogen's symbol, molecular formula is H2. It always requires two atoms together, then only one molecule will be formed. Correct? So when H and H, two hydrogen comes together, molecule of hydrogen will be formed. Okay, and next concept, below that I have written three circles, or three circles, you can see three atoms are there, two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of O. O means oxygen. Okay, so this compound is being formed over here, H2O. Correct? Again I am going to explain this in the next part, but just to make you understand what do you mean by atom and molecule, I am showing this figure to you. Correct? So what we say, that the molecules are the smallest particle, and what are the small molecules? A substance whose molecules are made up of exactly same one or more atoms are called elements. Okay, so hydrogen, oxygen, then what else word you have heard? Yeah, carbon, nitrogen, sulfur, magnesium, aluminium, these all are elements. Okay, these are all are elements, then what we call them as elements. So till here what we have learned, the words meaning of molecule, atom and elements. Okay, now let's try to understand the concept of element in a deeper way in next part. Lesson number 14, Elements, Compounds and Mixtures, part 3. Now the elements that cannot be decomposed further to obtain different substances. When we say the concept elements, they are made up of molecules, okay, and molecules are made up of atoms, correct? So the smallest particles of elements are made up of only one type of atom. Now let us try to learn something more about this word atoms. Atoms are the particles, atoms are the entities which we cannot or which cannot be seen with the naked eyes. But when crores of atoms come together, they form volume large enough to be visible to our eyes. Means whenever we see any object, any element, whenever it is visible, we can just understand that object, that substance, that matter is made up of thousands or crores of atoms, okay, crores or millions of atoms comes together and they make or they form one object, okay. So atoms cannot be seen with the naked eyes. Example of elements are hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon. All these words we have heard till now. Iron, metals, mercury, copper, okay, these metals, they all we call them as elements. Now who have discovered this concept atom? The great scientist Democritus named the small particle of an element as an atom, because in the Greek language atoms means indivisible. Indivisible means the thing which you cannot divide, okay. So what he have given the concept that atom is the smallest particle which you cannot divide further. So in 1803 John Dalton, another scientist, he proposed his theory stating that atoms cannot be created or divided into smaller particles or destroyed. Means we cannot make an atom, we cannot finish, we cannot destroy an atom, okay. And even the smallest particle that we call it as an atom, it cannot be divided further. And John Dalton have started the symbols or certain symbols to represent elements. Means whenever he started studies. Now in nature there are many elements are available, okay, they are present. So every time to write the full name of that element is not convenient. So what the scientists have done, they have used particular symbols, okay, short forms to write the name of the elements, okay. But in starting John Dalton used some symbols as shown on the screen. One circle, in that one he wrote as C for copper. For sulfur he used symbol of plus sign. For hydrogen one dot. So such symbols he used, okay, to show the elements. Next, this study was continued by different scientists, and to date scientists have discovered 118 elements, okay. So basic elements, when these elements combine, new substances form, they are different, but the basic, okay, single atom, single element, molecule, the till now it is 118. Out of these 118, 92 elements occur in nature. Naturally they are occurring, while the remaining are man-made. And hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, iron, mercury, copper, these are certain examples of few important natural elements. More new elements are being discovered through the research work, and today also the scientists are working, they are researching, so there is a possibility that in future also they may find particular or new things or new elements. Lesson number 14, Elements, Compounds and Mixtures, Part 4. Oxygen occurs in nature in gaseous state. All of us know that. Now, to remain in a gaseous state in a stable form, two atoms of oxygen are joined to form a molecule of oxygen, which has an independent existence. Oxygen in air is always in a molecular state. Means a single atom, one atom of oxygen cannot remain stable in a air. Okay, to remain in air as in a gaseous state, it has to be combined. Okay, that two atoms of oxygen has to be combined, then only it will be stable. Now, just like atoms, molecule also cannot be seen with the naked eyes. So, this was all about the concept of atoms, molecule and elements. Now, as I have explained you earlier that in nature or till now the scientists have discovered total 118 elements. To study the properties, the reactions of these elements, okay, it's very vast subject. So it will be very difficult that every time we have to, if we need to write the spelling for each and every element. Now, what do the short form for Dr, which I have shown you on the screen, as you can see, HM, AC, ADV, CM stands for? This is the question for you. Everyone know that Dr is the short form of doctor. HM, you can call it as a headmaster or headmistress. AC, okay, air conditioner. ADV, we use the word for advocate. CM stands for chief minister. So all these are what? Short forms. And most of the time we use this word in our day-to-day life. Okay, just switch on the AC. We don't, every time we don't say that switch on the air conditioner. Why? Because to utter that full two words, they are lengthy word. Okay, so to make it convenient, to make it easy, we are using short forms. Same way, the scientist named Berzelius was the first one who used the present method of using symbols for the elements. Means to show the element, to denote the element, to write the element, he has used the symbols. Okay. Now how that symbols were? Upside in the previous video I have explained you that John Dalton started using symbol, but that symbols were having particular signs, dot, C, plus symbol. But Berzelius, what he did? He used the English script and it's the short form for its name. The symbol of an element is written in the English script and it is the short form of its name. Okay, so how it will be? For example, you can see the table which is shown on the screen. There the name chart is been given, in which in one column name of the element is given and in second the symbol which is used for the element is given. You can see in the table the symbol used for hydrogen is capital H. Okay. Then helium. Then helium is also a gas. The symbol for this is He. Okay, means what? Mostly the scientists have taken the initial letter, first letter as a symbol. But as you can see the spelling, hydrogen and helium, both of them start with the letter H. Okay, so they cannot give one symbol to two elements. Therefore, for hydrogen they kept as a capital H and for helium capital H and second letter they put it as a small e. Okay, helium, that short form of helium. It's a symbol for helium, He. Then lithium, okay, Li. Beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen. You can see the element and see the symbols used for them. Okay, now every element may have some history. What we have to do? As a student of a science, we are compulsorily, or we should know the symbols which are used for the particular elements. When we will move to the higher classes, we have to study the periodic table in which all these elements are arranged. But for time being, in 7th standard, as per our syllabus, we are supposed to know the name of some elements and their symbols. Okay, so if you see the sodium, okay, now sodium, that word starts with S, but still you can see the symbol is Na, right? Again, if you see here, it is not given. Gold, if you take the element example gold, correct? So in gold, actually it's a symbol for gold and silver. Okay, gold symbol is AU. Okay, capital A and small u is the symbol for gold. Okay, and silver it is AG. Now you will say, teacher, you told that starting letter is taken as a symbol, but every time it's not like that. Now these names, these are the Latin names. In Latin language, the gold is called as a aurum, okay, and silver is called as a argentum. So the scientists which they belong, they mostly, if they are belonging to that particular country, they have used the symbols as per their convenience or as per their language. Okay, so what is our work? We have to remember the names and symbols, name of the element and symbols which are used for the element. So whatever, and one thing you have to remember, the symbols normally first letter is always a capital letter. While writing hydrogen symbol for hydrogen, it should be always capital H. It should not be small. And second letter, if it is included in the symbol, like lithium, helium, neon, chlorine. I am reading the table elements only. I am not talking about the other elements. You can see the second letter in the symbol is the small one. So this is the convention, this is the method, this is by the rule we are supposed to write the names in the same way. Correct? So this table, now till now we have learned the different definitions of matter, substance, atom, meaning of atom, molecule and element, and we have seen the method to write down the symbols for element. So here we will stop. In next part we will continue by for studying of these elements in a further classification of like metals and non-metals. Thank you so much. Lesson number 14, Elements, Compounds and Mixtures, Part 5. Let us continue with the concept of elements. In last videos, we have understood the meaning of elements, how to write the elements that we have studied. Okay, how to write the symbols for the elements. Now, in this section, we are going to study some more detail about the elements. Now, which metals do we use in our day-to-day life, and are these metals elements? Okay, some two questions we are supposed to answer in this session. Now, which metals do we use? Yes, I know your answer must be we are using iron, gold, silver, aluminium, copper, brass, many metals we come across in our day-to-day life. Now question is that are these metals are elements or not? Okay, so we can give the answer for this question like elements are generally classified into two groups. Okay, so elements are metals and non-metals. Okay, means elements are metals also and elements are non-metals also. We have studied the properties of metals such as malleability, ductility, conductivity of heat and electricity, density, luster, and sonority. Okay, so these are all properties of metals. In 6th standard we have gone through this one, that metals have properties like malleability. Malleability means what? They can we can spread the metals into metallic sheets, okay, or we can prepare the sheets from the metals. Next property is ductility. Ductility means what? We can take out or we can make the thin wires of the metals. Then metals can conduct the heat and electricity. They have the density, they have the luster or shining, and they have the sonority. Means these all are the properties of metals. So the elements which satisfy, which completes all these properties, they are called as the metals. Whereas the elements which do not show these properties, they are called as non-metals. Okay, so what are the examples of non-metals? Phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, examples are the examples of non-metals. The elements that show some properties of metals and some properties of non-metals. There is one more category. Okay, they are neither metals, they are neither complete non-metals. Some of properties of metals they show, some properties of non-metals they show, and such metals are called as metalloids. So this is the third group of elements. Correct? Which are the metalloids? Arsenic, silicon, selenium. These are the examples of metalloids. So today we have learned certain new concepts in the chemistry. Okay, we have understood the meaning of metals, non-metals and metalloids. Continuing this, we are going to learn one more concept today, that is compounds. What is the definition of compounds? The substance formed by a chemical combination of two or more elements is a compounds. Now, since we have understood or we came to know what do you mean by element, now it will be very easy to understand the meaning of compound. Compound is nothing but the chemical combination or the combination of two or more elements. Okay. For example, carbon dioxide. If you say this compound or example, if you give the example of carbon dioxide, we are taking two words in this one. One is carbon and another one is oxide. Oxide is related to oxygen. Means carbon dioxide, formula for carbon dioxide is what? Molecular formula CO2. Correct? So it contains C, it contains O. So it is a combination of two elements, that is carbon and oxygen. One more example we can take, water. Molecular formula for water is what? H2O. Correct? So water is having two elements, that is hydrogen and oxygen. So it is very easy to understand or learn or remember that what is a compound? Compound is a substance formed by chemical combination of two or more elements. The properties of a compounds are different from those of constituent elements. Second sentence or statement which I wrote in this one is what? The properties of compound is totally different from its constituent elements. For example, water. Molecular formula for water is what? H2O. So it is made up of hydrogen and oxygen gas. Now we all know that hydrogen is a gas, oxygen is also a gas, but the water which is formed using this hydrogen and oxygen is a liquid. Correct? So from this we can understand that if two molecules of hydrogen and one molecule of oxygen combines, what a molecule is formed. And hydrogen and oxygen is gas, but the resultant product compound which is formed is a liquid. From this we can say that the properties of a compound are totally different from the constituent elements. Constituent elements means what? Of which these compounds are made. That's why it's called as a constituent element. Now, a molecule of a compound is formed by chemical combination of atoms of two or more elements. Therefore, a molecular formula is used to represent a compound. A molecular formula of a compound is a short form of a name written with the help of symbols. For example, as I told you that a molecular formula for carbon dioxide is CO2 and molecular formula for water is H2O. So here this CO2 and H2O are called as the molecular formula. Means instead of writing carbon dioxide, even if you want, you can write it as CO2 while writing chemical reactions. So this was all about the molecular formula and compounds. Lesson number 14, elements, compounds and mixtures, part 6. So we were discussing about writing the molecular formula for compounds. Okay. On the screen you can just see here that I have shown you one table which in first column compound is being shown and second column is for molecular formula. Now while writing molecular formula, how we are supposed to write? Water is a compound which constitutes two elements, hydrogen and oxygen, and the molecular formula for this is a H2O. Correct? As you can see, there are two molecules of hydrogen, therefore they are written H2. Okay, so that 2 number whatever is there, it is subscript, means like we have written it in a down position. Okay, so while writing we are not supposed to write the number which next to the letter. Okay, you have to write it in a subscript position, means at the base of the element or that letter, there you are supposed to write. Okay, next one is hydrochloric acid. As the name suggests, it have the two elements, hydrogen and chlorine. So the molecular formula for hydrochloric acid is capital H and chlorine symbol is chlorine Cl. Therefore its formula will be HCl. Sulfuric acid. Molecular formula for sulfuric acid is H2SO4. Means it have three elements, that is hydrogen, sulfur and oxygen. And again, as you can see, H2, there are two hydrogen, and again that 2 we have to write it in a subscript position. Subscript position means what? You have to write that numbers at the base of the letter or base of that symbol. Okay, you can see that 2, it is small in font and we are writing it at the base. 4 also for H2SO4. For O also 4 we are writing at the subscript position. Next, carbon dioxide, its molecular formula is CO2. Therefore CO2. Okay, capital, whatever are the symbols, they are supposed to be written that way. If symbol of the oxygen is capital O, we should write capital O. If symbol of the carbon is capital C, we should write capital C. We cannot change by our wish. Okay, that I thought I should write it small. No, if it is capital, it has to be written capital, otherwise it will go wrong. Okay, sodium chloride. Sodium chloride, in our day-to-day life we call it as a edible salt, which we add in our day-to-day food items. Okay, so that is a sodium chloride. Scientific name for salt is sodium chloride, and molecular formula, it have again two elements, sodium and chlorine. Okay, so symbol for sodium element is Na and symbol for chlorine is Cl. Next, methane. Methane is a gas. Again, its molecular formula we have to write it as CH4. So these are very few molecular name of the compounds I have given and their molecular formulas I have given, because in 7th standard it's just an introductory part. Whenever you will go to a higher class, we are going to learn the name of the compounds in detail and how we should write down their name or their chemical reaction, that we will learn in detail in higher classes. So here we have stopped the explanation of writing molecular formula. So you have to learn the table, at least whichever table which is given in our book for elements and symbols. Compulsorily you have to by heart, you have to remember what are the symbols of different elements and what are the molecular formulas for particular compounds. Next concept that we are going to discuss is mixtures. Okay, we have studied elements, we have studied compounds. Now next concept we are going to see is a mixtures. A mixture is a mixture is formed by mixing different elements or compounds. Okay, so what is a mixture? Now as we have learned the element and compound, mixture is nothing but the combination of elements and compounds. The proportion of various components in a mixture is not fixed, and no chemical change take place during the formation of mixtures, and no new substance is formed. Whenever mixtures are formed, whenever we are mixing two elements, compounds, there is no chemical reaction. Till now, we have studied the simple method of separation of components of a mixtures. Okay, which are those methods? Like straining, sifting, picking, sorting, winnowing, combing with magnet, and sublimation. These are some methods of separation we have already studied in standard 6. Okay, straining or sifting means you have to strain or you have to sieve the things. As you can see in the picture, they have given one table on page number 97. Okay, some pictures are given. Now first picture where you can see one lady, she is pouring that grain down. That process, what's that process we call it as? We call it as a winnowing. Okay, that is separation of grain cobs, that grain coverings from the grain. Okay, it is poured from the height so that with the help of wind, due to the wind, it will blow away and the pure grain will fall down. Then next picture you can see there is a picking up, means when we have to use the grain, rice, wheat we bring to our home, we just check it for the presence of any stone or any unwanted material in that one. It is called as picking up. Next you can see the sifting or straining. Okay, that is using sieve to clean the material. Then next one is the filtration. You can see the filtration. Next, last method you can see that one while making curd, while taking out ghee from curd, such method it is called as the churning method. Okay, so these are some methods we are already familiar with, which are used for the separation of the mixtures. Today we are going to learn in this chapter some scientific methods of separation, that is distillation, then separation using separating funnel, centrifugation and chromatography. So these are the scientific methods of separation which are used in our day-to-day life in our laboratories for separating different mixtures. Let us see them one by one. Lesson number 14, Elements, Compounds and Mixtures, Part 7. Today we are going to continue with the topic, the methods of separations. In last topic we have seen the meaning of mixture. To separate out the mixtures in labs, we have different types of scientific methods. Out of that scientific methods, first method that we are going to see is method of distillation. You can see the assembly or diagram which is shown on the screen, in which in this type of distillation, two impure liquids or the mixture of two liquids can be separated by this method. First of all, take some salt water in a round bottom flask. Arrange the apparatus as shown in the figure. Start heating the liquid in the flask placed on the wire gauze. In this diagram you can see one burner. Above that burner on a stand, one wire gauze. Wire gauze means it's the wire mesh. Okay, metallic wire it is covered with the gauze, and up to above that one, the round bottom flask is being placed. Then you can see the conical flask which is connected to the round bottom flask. through one glass tube. Okay, so first of all, we have to take salt water in that round bottom flask. The salt water in this flask boils on heating and the water in it vaporizes. When the vapor passes through the inclined tube, it gets cooled due to the surrounding cold water. Okay, and it condenses to form a water. You can see in the figure, to the round bottom flask one tube is been attached and again it is covered with the another glass tube. Okay, and in that outer glass tube cold water is being supplied. Because of that cold water, the water vapors which are passing through the inside tube, they get condensed, they get cooled. Okay, means what happened, that water vapor gets converted to a liquid form and thus the drops form falls into the conical flask. Okay, so the drops falling into the conical flask are of the water from the salt solution which is placed into the round bottom flask. Salt remains behind at the bottom of the round bottom flask when all the water has collected in the conical flask, and this method is called as distillation. Distillation is also used for purification of impure liquids or any solution. Okay, now here we have taken salt solution in which salt was dissolved and we have separated salt and water. Okay, water is collected into the conical flask and salt remain in a round bottom flask. One more method that we are going to be we are introduced in this chapter is method of separation using separating funnel. As shown in the figure, you can see one funnel is been attached to the stand. Okay, it's called as the separating funnel. When a mixture of two immiscible liquids, immiscible means what? Two liquids which cannot be mixed with each other, they are called as immiscible. And two liquids, if you they can mix easily with each other, they are called as miscible liquid. For example, miscible liquids, suppose if you mix the sugar solution and salt water or sea water, you can easily mix with that both the solution. But suppose if you mix the sugar solution with the oil and sugar solution do not get combined, there will be the separate layers, and such layers formation, and if it is there, we call that two liquids are immiscible. Okay, so when a mixture of two immiscible liquid is left undisturbed, two layers are clearly seen to have formed. Now, as shown in the figure, the mixture of kerosene and water is been poured in the funnel, and you can see after keeping that funnel undisturbed for an hour or 2 hours, kerosene and water, that two layers are formed. Downside, stopcock is being seen. Stopcock is working like a tap. The way we turn on the tap and water flows down. When we turn off the tap, water stops flowing. Same way this stopcock works. When we put it on, the water which is at the down layer, it will be collected into the beaker. Okay, the moment at which the kerosene layer shifts downside, water will go down, along with that kerosene layer also will go down. Okay, we don't have to remove each and every drop of water. We have to stop or turn off the stopcock when the last some drops of water are remaining in the separating funnel. Then that we have collected water separately. Then the middle part between the liquid and kerosene, that part we have to pass in one more beaker. Stopcock we have to put it on, remove the mixture or the junction of kerosene and water, and that we have to discard or dispose. Second funnel second beaker solution we have to discard because it may be the mixture of two. Okay, and in third beaker then we have to again collect down the kerosene. Okay, so this is how the method of separation using separating funnel is being carried out. Lesson number 14, Elements, Compounds and Mixtures, Part 8. Next method of separation that we are going to learn is method of centrifugation. Turbid water, ink, milk, buttermilk, blood, these are the mixtures of liquid and insoluble solids. Okay, so when turbid water is kept undisturbed for a while, the soil particles in it slowly settle to the bottom. The particles of milk or ink, however, do not settle even on being left undisturbed. This is because the particles of the solids in such mixtures, being very tiny and light, remain evenly distributed in the liquid. So, to separate the such particles from the liquid, what method we have to use? Yes, method of centrifugation. The particles that cannot be separated from the liquid even by method like filtration or settling, in such cases we can use the method of centrifugation. Then question arises, how will you separate such solid particles from liquid? You can see the figure as it is shown on the screen. Okay, is the centrifugal machine or the machine that is called as the centrifuge machine. It is used to separate the solids from a mixture of a liquid and solid. It consists of a disc which rotates like a fan at great speed. There is a provision to attach test tubes at the rim of the disc. When the tubes attached to the disc rotates at high speed, a force is generated which pushes the particle away from the center. As a result, the solid particles in the mixture, as you can see in the figure, there are certain test tubes attached to the blue machine. Within that test tube, you have to fill the liquid, and when the button or switch is on, that tubes rotate at high speed, and as a result, the particles which are present in the test tube, they get settled at the bottom and the liquid part is upside the test tube. So this is the method of centrifugation which is used for the separation of the liquids in which the substances cannot be separated either by filtration or by settling. 14, Elements, Compounds and Mixtures, Part 9. Next method of separation that we are going to learn is method of chromatography. If two or more substances are dissolved in small proportions in the same solution, these substances are separated from each other by means of chromatography. This method is used in pharmaceutical sciences, factories and scientific laboratories for detecting new ingredients and for identifying and separating components of a mixture. So, in this method of separation called chromatography, two properties of substances are used. These are the solubility of the substance in the solvent that moves up and the ability of the substance to stick to the stationary filter paper. You can see as shown in the figure, there is a beaker. In that beaker, one filter paper strip is being attached. Within that filter paper, the solution which is to be separated, certain drops of that liquid is being placed on that filter paper, and the solution or the runner solution is being kept into the beaker. Take some water in a beaker or take a rectangular piece of filter paper, put one spot of blue ink on it, about 2 centimeters away from one edge. Keep this paper upright in the water in the beaker. Then place the lid on the beaker. After some time, the spot of the ink is seen to have risen. You can see the different spots as shown on the filter paper. The different colored spots are being formed. This means what? Whatever ingredients are there present inside the ink, they are separated and different spots are formed on the filter paper at different height. If there are two or more constituents of different colors in the ink, they will be seen to have risen to different heights due to their different colors, and thus they appear distinct from each other. So this experiment can be done using chalk stick instead of the filter paper. Means on the chalk also you can put any drop of ink, and that if you dip into the beaker which is having water, that water will slowly run up to the upper level of the chalk. So this type of method is called as the chromatography. Okay, and this method of chromatography is not used only for regular or in day-to-day life. Normally it is used in separation of the substances for pharmaceutical science, factories, scientific laboratories. So in this method, or in this lesson, for lesson number 14, elements, compounds and mixtures, till now we have covered the meaning of element, the meaning of atoms, then molecules, then we have seen or we have learned the compound. We have also learned the metals, elements categories, that is metals and non-metals. Then we came to the concept of mixtures. We have seen the different methods of separation or mixtures as well, like distillation, filtration, centrifugation and paper chromatography. So here we come to an end of the lesson number 14, elements, compounds and mixtures.